All right, I'm going to give you 10 items to remember. Let's see how many you remember. Straw, rose, flute, social media, notebooks, cookies, tailwind, gourmet meal, Liberty Bell, and Gatorade. Hi, welcome to another episode of Unlocking Mind Behind Make More Work Less. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on Unlocking Mind, we talk about another cognitive bias. And the reason why I have this show is so that we can better understand how our minds work, make better decisions, build strong relationships, and of course, avoid certain cognitive traps. So for today's cognitive bias, let me go back at the very beginning and ask you, how many of those 10 items do you still remember? Let me repeat those 10 words again. Straw, rose, flute, social media, notebooks, cookies, tailwind, gourmet meal, Liberty Bell, and Gatorade. Now, how many of you remember straw and rose? How many of you remember Liberty Bell and Gatorade? Now, how many of you actually remember the words cookies and tailwind? Now, if I was to poll everybody, most likely not, most people will get the first few, which is straw and rose, and last few, which is Liberty Bell and Gatorade. But not many of you would actually come up with the words cookies and tailwind and maybe notebooks. And that's because of our cognitive bias today, which is the serial positional effect, which is basically the tendency of people being able to recall stuff that's listed at the beginning of a list and stuff that's at the end of the list. But in the stuff in the middle, they don't recall it as well. And that is also known as the recency and also the primacy effect. Primacy is the beginning stuff, recency is the end stuff. And why is that? Well, the primacy effect is the stuff at the beginning, which when I said straw and rose, because it was said at the beginning, it already kind of trickled into your long-term memory out of that list of stuff. Whereas the stuff at the very end, which is Liberty Bell and Gatorade, because they were said at the very end, it kind of trickled into your working memory. So that is the recency effect. Now, many different types of effect experiments were done on this concept. And one of the most interesting ones on the primacy effect was the following. So a group of people was given a whole bunch of words, just like I did to you, and they were told to come up with what they remembered. Sure enough, they came up with a bunch of items from the beginning and a bunch of items from the end. And again, the stuff in the middle, they kind of forgot. So another group was asked to do the same thing, except before they were told to repeat the stuff that they remembered, they were given a task. Some task had kind of distracted them. And sure enough, they were able to come up with more items in the beginning portion, and they kind of forgot some of the stuff in the end, but still remember more stuff from the end between compared to the stuff in the middle. So that kind of proves that primacy effect actually does occur, where we actually remember stuff more at the beginning than we do in stuff in the end and also in the middle. Now, when it comes to recency effect, another experiment was done where what if we gave them more and more stuff to remember? So instead of 10 words I gave you, I might give you 20 and 30 and 40, 50. And the thing is, no matter how long that list is, you will still remember more of the tail end stuff and the beginning stuff than the middle stuff. And again, recency effect does come into play because no matter how long that list was, you still remember just the end part, which is because that stuff is still in your working memory. So why is this important? Well, when it comes to the primacy effect, it's there basically as another cognitive bias, which is anchoring. The first thing that we hear, we kind of anchor it into our minds. The first impressions that we get is very important. And that's because of the primacy effect. When we're going out to shop for a new TV, and that new TV, the very first one we saw was $800, well, that price range is what we're anchoring our minds to. Everything else compared to that is either cheaper or more expensive, unless there's a whole bunch of new features and benefits and all that kind of stuff, but we've anchored our thought process to that price because it was the first thing we saw. Just like meeting somebody. Once we get that first impression, we kind of already have this thought as to who they are, what they do, how they're like to be with and all that kind of stuff because of that first impression, because of the primacy effect. Now, why is recency effect so important? Well, that's why when we're looking at ads, when we're looking at websites and all that kind of stuff, a call to action is at the end, or some of the most important stuff is at the very end, because that's some of the more important things that the companies want us to remember. So if those two things are so important, that's why we need to put those things into our daily lives. So if we were to teach something, we want to make sure that our important messages are either at the beginning or at the end. We kind of have all the other stuff in the middle for them to kind of relate to think about. But if they forget it, at least they remember the first and the last stuff. That's why when we're doing presentations, when we're doing speeches, we want to put a call to action at the end. We want to do a summary at the end. We may want to do a very strong introduction at the beginning so that they remember what we're talking about. We want to start with a bang, we want to end with a bang so that people remember who we are, what we do, and the messages we want to give out. So that is the primacy effect, the recency effect, and also the serial positional effect. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode on Unlocking Mind. And if you did, please go back and watch some of my other episodes on Unlocking Mind. And of course, we have a lot of other shows, the Peak Potential Success Show, the Make More Mind Bites, and the Mastermind Bites that's up every single week. Thank you very much for your likes, your time, your comments, and your subscriptions. I love seeing those comments. And until next time, today is the day to lock your peak potential. I'll see you later.